Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, the Bahamas will put up a fight against the European Union's blacklist classification. Why a pro-vaccination doctor is urging caution in the next few months. Plus, a family is demanding a public apology from police. We'll tell you why. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. First tonight, police suspect a teenage boy committed suicide at the Ferreira residence in Nassau East this afternoon. Police press liaison officer ASP Audley Peters telling reporters that officers were alerted to reports of an unresponsive body at the home.
Shortly after 2 p.m., police received reports of a body being found unresponsive at a residence on Oxford Avenue off Nassau East Boulevard. On their arrival, they were directed to a room where they found the body of a male who they were told was a juvenile who was found unresponsive.
A cabinet minister's vehicle and a vehicle with MP plates were in the yard of the home. Peters says the teenager was between 13 and 18 years old and didn't have any signs of injuries.
EMS was summoned, and on their arrival, after their examinations, pronounced the body lifeless. Investigations into this matter will continue at this time.
Well, Attorney General Carl Bethel revealing he is preparing to put forward the best case for the Bahamas' removal from the European Union's blacklist. Bethel says he and members of his technical team have a series of telephone meetings with European ministers and finance officials over the next few days. Jasmine Brown reports.
The Attorney General confirmed on Thursday morning that the first of several telephone meetings with the European Union representatives is set for Friday morning. Bethel asked for the Senate to meet an hour later than usual so that he could accommodate that meeting.
I have a series of phone calls with European ministers of finance and other persons involved in order to address with each individual minister, and starting tomorrow and continuing on next week.
The European Union officially added the Bahamas to its list of third countries categorized as having strategic deficiencies in its anti-money laundering, countering the financing of terrorism frameworks back in October. The AG says he and his team will use the meeting to make the Bahamas case to those European finance officials.
Address and put forward the best case for the Bahamas for our removal from the European Union's blacklist.
Bethel said the meeting will give the Bahamas a chance to develop bilateral contacts with major players across Europe who are less familiar with the country.
It's an opportunity for us to begin to establish person-to-person contact at the ministerial level, but also technical officers contact at the technical officers levels with individual countries in Europe that we do not have that sort of close contact with at the present time.
In September, Bethel foreshadowed the blacklisting, noting that the matter was beyond all of our control, given that the COVID-19 pandemic and associated travel restrictions prevented an on-site country assessment by the FATF. However, he expressed hope that an assessment would be held in sufficient time for the Bahamas to get off the FATF blacklist at the earliest in February 2021. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Meanwhile, a family is in mourning tonight after a young man was shot and killed off Kemp Road this afternoon. Relatives say this loss comes as a major blow to that community. Berthany McDermott reports.
No, it really was a tragedy.
Alfred Bastian Sr. was distraught after learning that his son Alfred Jr. had been murdered Thursday. According to police press liaison officer ASP Audley Peters, the victim was shot and killed at a home on Cooper's Terrace off Camp Road around noon. Peters said police found Bastian's body lying face down on the ground.
Preliminary information is that a group of persons were gathered in the front of the residence when a small vehicle approached them. 4 males exited the vehicle armed with firearms. These males then discharged the weapons in the direction of the persons, and one of the males was struck and he succumbed to his injuries on scene.
Bastian revealed he was with his son moments before he was killed. His aunt, Melizora Bowles, says she will miss her nephew dearly, adding that he was giving and didn't bother anyone.
One thing I say with him, if he have $1, you could get 50 cents out of that. That's one thing I can say with him. But every Christmas, he can make sure all his nieces and nephews and cousins them get their little gifts every Christmas.
Now, following this tragic incident, residents flocked to the streets, all curious to know what took place here. This as family members say he was well loved by the community.
Positive person for the community. Everybody
and you could come in, he could do anything what you want him to do. Just talk to him. You
if
get that.
Need something, you just ask him, he'll do it.
You get that done.
My nephew was a very nice person, and he ain't how to get along with nobody. He helps everybody in the community.
Police are following significant leads in this matter. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Meanwhile, the family of a man who police incorrectly said was wanted for assault is demanding a public apology. Jared Higgs tells us the man was killed 6 years ago, but appeared on a police flyer on Wednesday.
79-year-old Sidney Moss and his wife, 73-year-old Patsy Moss, say they're left embarrassed after police release a wanted flyer for their son, who's been dead for over 6 years.
I was very angry.
I say, what? I say they must be dreaming.
Their son, Ricardo Moss, was gunned down near their Grays Terrace home on September 27, 2014. But on Wednesday, police released a flyer saying Moss was wanted for assault with a deadly weapon. His father says they were shocked and disturbed.
Anytime the police come around looking for any of my children, I scared them to the station. So they have to come back to my house.
After media personnel brought the error to authorities' attention, ASP Audley Peters wrote, "Police wish to thank members of the public for their assistance in respect of the wanted poster in the name of Ricardo Moss. We also apologize to his family for this unfortunate identification." But the family say police didn't come to the home to look for Moss, and neither have they contacted them since they apparently realized the error.
But that's what I wanted, how they could post something like that, and ain't none of them being here.
When the children call me last night, they say, Grammy, you see, they had daddy. I say, yeah, I see him. Tia say, boy, I was crying. I say, you're right to cry and make you feel bad.
Moss's sister, 43-year-old Joanne DaCosta, says she and her brother were close, and she still feels the pain of his death. She thinks that if her family was more well-respected, they would have been treated differently.
If this was a prominent person in society, would this happen? And too often, things like this, for the common man in this country, happens. Number one, it would have never happened. It would never been circulated. They would have done their due diligence.
Moss's family say he was shot dead during a grill out right near to his family home where he worked on vehicles. Now, police also say 4 other people were shot during the incident. Moss left behind 6 children. The oldest is 20 now and the youngest is 6. His family described him as quiet, but with lots of friends.
He wasn't a fella to go around fighting and carrying on like that.
Moss's older brother, Philip Moss, was also killed 9 years earlier in 2005. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Thanks, Jared. Well, I heard it's going to be chilly tonight. Here's Greg Thompson in the weather studio. Greg?
Thanks, Christina. I'm meteorologist Greg Thompson with your first look at weather. Outside our studios, very nice and comfy conditions. Temperatures low 70s, 70 degrees outside. Breezy and mild conditions. Your winds are out of the east at 10 knots. That's allowing our temperatures to feel more like in the upper 60s. 67 is our current feel-like temperature. Satellite view around the area. That frontal boundary across the southeast bomb is washing out as we speak. Some cloudy conditions across the area, all courtesy of that high-pressure system bringing in some moisture off the Atlantic. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, why thousands of people were popping their trunks today. Plus, the health minister gives an update on rapid testing. Stay with us.
So the project really pays itself back.
Correct.
They set up
at the conference, more the school.
As a journalist, I always have to focus on the facts, and sometimes that means going to investigate for myself. On the Record, Thursdays at 8 p.m. right here on RTV.
Former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands warning against newly approved COVID-19 vaccines, stating while there is an undeniable demand for a vaccine, the Bahamas must be careful in its selections. Giorgio Bain reports.
We've never had an mRNA vaccine ever. We have never rolled out a vaccine this quickly, ever. We have never distributed vaccines to this many people this rapidly. So imagine now the potential horror story on the flip side. And the response, well, we thought it was the right thing to do.
Former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands was asked about new COVID-19 vaccines during a guest appearance on the Hit Back with Nahaja Black this week. Sands says while he is pro-vaccination and notes the undeniable need for a vaccine, he believes the rush to develop a COVID-19 vaccine due to political stimulation may lead to safety concerns.
We have to be very, very careful that the appropriate regulation oversight is not aborted because the road to hell is paved with good intentions. If somebody says that they have something that's going to work 95% of the time, that's Pfizer or Moderna 100% or 99% of the time, I get a little bit skeptical.
Sands says the Bahamas needs to be especially careful due to a lack of infrastructure that could render the vaccines useless.
It would require liquid nitrogen, dry ice. We don't have it. We simply don't have it. We have cold chain where we can keep vaccines at 0 or close to 0, refrigerated or frozen, but not at -70, -80 degrees.
The former health minister warns that with long-term safety data not available on the vaccines, he is fearful of what the long-term effects could be.
Yes, they have demonstrated that in a couple of months you don't drop dead from it. You get some flu-like symptoms that may be short-lived. But what happens 6 months down the road? Does it cause a problem with your bone marrow? Will it stimulate malignancies? Does it create other challenges in the body?
Reporting for our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Well, Health Minister Renward Wells is defending the government's testing protocols regarding Family Island travel. He insists that rapid antigen tests are being administered to travelers on all Family Islands.
Anything to cause our circumstances to change in a deleterious or negative direction. Our job is to see to it that we continue the gains that we would have achieved.
Earlier this week, Minister of Tourism Dionisio de Aguilar confirmed that the tests meant to be administered to travelers 5 days after their arrival to the Bahamas are not being administered on some islands, and that the requirement was being waived for those travelers. On Sunday, de Aguilar told our News that several islands still did not have rapid testing capacity. Wells says if it is discovered that there is a gap in testing, it will be tackled head on.
Wherever there are deficiencies in the system, this administration, we don't run away from things. You know, wherever there are deficiencies, if it is made aware to us, we deal with it right away. And we'll see to it that the tests are there, if there are places where it's not, to ensure that the government's policy and program to keep control of the gains that we have gotten.
Asked about concerns over the increased risk to residents on those islands because of the lack of testing, Wells said this.
As far as I'm aware at this point, the tests are being conducted on the Family Islands. Where there is no private facility that is doing the tests are being done by the government clinics. That is what is the government's protocol.
In other news, thousands of motorists braved the slow-moving traffic this morning to grab one of 5,000 grocery boxes. Jillian Gray has that.
There was bumper-to-bumper traffic today as thousands of cars clamored to get into the National Stadium, all to receive one of the grocery boxes given out by IL Cares.
The grocery pickup was a pull-up and pop-the-trunk type of giveaway, but many used any means of transportation to get there, from a bicycle to a trolley and even a makeshift tow truck.
How is this going to help you?
Yeah, me good and strong.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, have you been working since the pandemic?
No.
Those in need lined up from as early as 5 a.m. for the event, which wasn't scheduled to start until noon. While these ladies applauded the initiative, they lamented the fact that their carpooling put them at a disadvantage.
Oh, so we live two different places. Oh, so they're going to give out one box. Yeah. So how are you guys going to split that?
We got to come to some agreements. For us being greedy, each one get. Two of us is gamblers. I catch a ride with her and they only give us one box. I told them that's two of us and they put one box in the car.
While many were on the line trying to hustle for their household, others say that was not the case for them.
I have a family member, who could make use of this.
I'm an island gambler and my daughter is a spinner. So we have to come and get what he invests in Island Luck.
I haven't worked from March 21st, but I give God thanks for life every day and whatever he provides for me, especially life, because a lot of people has passed on from COVID.
Island Luck CEO Sebastian said they simply wanted to make the holidays a bit brighter for some families.
We're going to be out here every Thursday until Christmas, giving out about 5,000 food packages every Thursday. And, it's hats off to the team. They work tirelessly to pull this off, night and day packing boxes, sourcing stuff. And, it's just heartwarming to see the smiles on the people's faces. 2020 has been a rough year for all of us.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
Thanks, Jillian. We've got a lot more news on the way, but first, here's your RF Market Watch.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
Still to come, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas at Alive. Plus, a Bahamian baller claims an international title. The details when our news returns.
So the project really pays itself back.
Correct.
They set up
at the conference, the school.
As a journalist, I always have to focus on the facts, and sometimes that means going to investigate for myself. On the Record, Thursdays at 8 p.m. right here on RTV.
This is our news. Welcome back. What makes Christmas? That's the question Alive is seeking to answer for its customers this year. Giving back is a huge part of that answer, according to Chief Alive Commercial Officer Gravette Brown, who says 50 cents of every Alive plan purchased will be pooled and matched by the company to donate up to $200,000 to charity.
Our $200,000 drive that we're operating this particular month will go to support the charities on our together.bealive.com platform. So we will be dispersing to those charities. We obviously will be focusing mostly on charities that are supporting people who are most in need during this particular COVID period. Because that has been our focus. Because we know that we just had Dorian last year and then we went right into COVID.
Alive is also giving back through the List app and in-store giveaways.
All month long, we're giving gifts to our customers. So if you are prepaid and postpaid, as long as you have an active plan, you are eligible to win. So we're going to be giving out, just thousands of gifts over the course of this month. And that's everything from TVs to earbuds to free plans to gas vouchers. They're going to be just a number of things going on. So just stay connected, be on the plan. Every twice a week for prepaid Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to be announcing our winners. And then for postpaid, we'll be announcing them in store also.
In sports, Bahamian Kai Jones and the University of Texas claiming the Maui Invitational title. Marcellus Hall has the details.
Thanks so much, Christina. Welcome to sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. In the world of sports, nothing beats perfection, especially if it's on the winning side. And that's what Kai Jones and the Texas Longhorns were looking to continue, the art of perfection. They were 3-0 going into yesterday's championship game at the Maui Invitational. Let's take a look. Bahamian Kai Jones and the 17th-ranked Texas Longhorns playing in the championship game of the Maui Invitational yesterday. Longhorns up against the North Carolina Tar Heels. Game going right down to the wire. Longhorns' Matt Coleman hits a step-back jumper with 0.1 seconds on the clock. That helps Texas get the win, 69-67 in dramatic fashion. Longhorns blowing a 16-point lead late in the second half. Thanks to key plays from both Coleman and Kai, were able to pull off the win. Coleman, who finished with 22, was named the MVP. Jones finished with 12 points, including a tying jumper with 2:19 on the clock, followed by a transition dunk with 41 seconds left to play. Texas now heads back home for a game on Sunday versus 12th-ranked Villanova. To the NFL, where Week 12 of the season finally came to a close yesterday with an afternoon game between the Baltimore Ravens and the unbeaten Pittsburgh Steelers. Not a pretty contest at all, as both teams looked sloppy with turnovers, including an early pick six by Ravens backup quarterback Robert Griffin III and drop passes by Steelers receivers in the end zone. Juju Smith-Schuster with a touchdown reception from Ben Roethlisberger in the fourth quarter. That would seal the deal. Steelers stay unbeaten, 19-14, your final score. So there you have it. Of course, no football tonight, but we'll give you all the details and other things coming up for you tomorrow as we get ready, by the way, for another episode of The Locker Room. Hope you guys tune in for that. All right, that's a check on sports. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Marcellus. Still to come, Cable Bahamas employees put their money where their heart is. Stay with us.
So the project really pays itself back.
Correct.
They set up
at the conference, the school.
As a journalist, I always have to focus on the facts, and sometimes that means going to investigate for myself. On the Record, Thursdays at 8 p.m. right here on RTV.
Welcome back to our news. This weather has been beautiful. Greg, how much longer is it going to last?
Thanks again, Christina. Our second look at weather, we take a look at our satellite view around the area. Frontal boundaries still hanging out across the southeast Bahamas, basically washing out some cloudy conditions across that area. We have the next storm system setting up across the Gulf of Mexico and the southeast United States. That should usher in another frontal boundary on the weekend. And then, of course, early next week, we see another frontal boundary. So comfortable conditions for the next several days. Your boating forecast for all areas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the east-northeast to east-southeast at 15 to 20 knots. Seas running 4 to 7 feet. Of course, choppy waters out there, so boaters do exercise caution. Here's a look now at your national forecast. Now we'll look at your extended forecast through Tuesday. That's a look at your weather. Have a great night. Christina?
Thanks, Greg. Scores of Cable Bahamas employees came together recently to provide tangible support to families in dire need of internet access through the Connectivity for All campaign. CBL, the Rotary Club, and the Ministry of Education teamed up for the initiative. More than 50 employees stopped in to make a personal donation, while other employees donated online using the Together app by Alive. Rotary Club Assistant Governor Ken Strawn thanked Cable Bahamas employees for helping to spread holiday cheer.
Thank you to the staff and executives of Cable Bahamas, who yourself have been presented and demonstrating that you believe in this initiative, have dug into your reserves and put forward funding to help those less fortunate than many of us. We are very grateful for it.
Donations from employees and executives are currently more than $8,000. CEO Franklin Butler says he is overwhelmed by the tremendous gesture.
We will exceed that $5,000 donation by a great amount. And I just wanted to come to you to say thank you guys so much. I know everybody has their own needs. Everybody is struggling in the face of this pandemic. And for you guys to step up in the way you did is just extraordinary. I'm blessed to lead you.
I'm Christina Dragovich, and this has been our news. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.